folks, to Your Voice Counts. I just did an hour show on RBN for Officer Jack McLam, and he's feeling ill, and I hope that he gets much better. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the show, but there's always a whole lot to talk about in what's going on in this world. And folks, we have a very, very special guest that's going to be on our show here in just a minute. His name is Professor Richard Falk. And we're going to talk about him, and I'm going to read a little bit of his bio. But first, I have to get some USS Liberty stuff done. So, Professor, please hold on, and we'll get you on in just a few minutes. And certainly appreciate you coming on this great radio station, Real News, Real Talk, Real People, RBN, because you can't handle the truth.
Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much, sir. And just as soon as I get this Liberty stuff done, I'll get you right up, and we'll get to work.
Great.
Okay, folks. The reason I do this show is in honor of the 34 of my shipmates that were slaughtered by June 8, 1967 by the State of Israel. 174 others were wounded. Our ship was completely destroyed. We had a 40 by 40 foot hole in the starboard side by one of their torpedoes. We put over life rafts. We had 3 left out of a crew of 294. Guess what they did? They blew them out of the water. They wanted no survivors. The torpedo gunmen were so ruthless they would shoot at our firefighters and stretcher bearers trying to save their brothers. All with machine gun fire and rocket fire coming at them. It's a pretty tough job to do, but they did it. And I certainly respect them for it, and God bless them. And I hate to say that a few of our shipmates have passed away. How many, I don't know. Some don't even want to even think about the USS Liberty because they were told to keep our mouths shut or we'd go to prison or worse. So it's just a terrible thing with the United States government calling back aircraft, and we were promised help. They knew we were under attack 15 minutes into the attack, and President Johnson recalled the aircraft and says, "I'm not going to embarrass my ally. I don't give a GD if every man aboard that ship dies." Well, how did he know it was Israel attacking our ship when we didn't? Those airplanes were unmarked. You couldn't see any markings on them. So LBJ and Strange McNamara and whoever else was involved in it to the highest degree. Certainly Admiral McCain was involved in it. John McCain's father, he was the commander of the Atlantic Fleet in Europe, and so he had to know something about it because he was part of the cover-up. So here we go. We got, so many things to talk about, and then we got this beautiful voice that comes on RBN, Kat Faber. She is our producer. She gets all of our guests, including the Honorable Professor Richard Falk, and he'll be on in just a second, folks. But thank you, Kat, for your voice, for who you are, and thank you, Rick. And we'll be right back, folks. Support your sponsors on RBN, and then we'll continue on with the show. Thank you.
There were too many errors and too much time wasted. The bombs were coming down. It would be too late for liberty.
Golden Stag Safaris invites you to hunt in one of Argentina's most beautiful scenarios. Enjoy the quietness of a pampas and the 5-star accommodation lodge. Excellent food and wine included in your stay. All the while hunting big game in the Argentine Valley. An area known for having a wide range of game, excellent trophies, the biggest stags in South America, as well as many other species. all gold medal quality. One-on-one guided hunts, rental guns available with the highest quality scopes in every caliber, Land Rovers for transport, pick up at Buenos Aires Airport, and a private aircraft for charter is all available. Go to www.goldenstagsafaris.com to see photos and for more information. Again, www.goldenstagsafaris.com.
Are you facing foreclosure? Worried about late payments? Fight back and stay in your home. Zero Debt Guaranteed can help. We'll send you a free ebook just for calling 800-477-9256 or go to zerodebtguaranteed.com. Get the details on how to remove your risk to your debt. And so important to many homeowners today, how to stop foreclosure. Forget loan modification. The Zero Debt in 90 Days system can show you how to get the bank to pay your property taxes and insurance while stopping your foreclosure without paying one dime. You can take control, stop foreclosure, protect your cash, assets, wages, property, and sleep peacefully at night. We've been helping people for over 18 years. Call Zero Debt Guaranteed, 800-477-9256. Ask for free information, no obligation. That's 800-477-9256. Or visit zerodebtguaranteed.com now.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us at 1-877-605-9200.
The time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time
Welcome back,
ago.
folks. Here we go. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time, but I hate to cut our USS Liberty Angel off, Kat Farber. She's just a sweetest girl in the whole world, and all of us love her to death, and I don't know what we would do without her. Just what she does and the type of person she is and the heartfelt songs she sings and the guests we get. And you'll always be remembered by the crew of the USS Liberty, Cat. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rick. Rick is her husband, a great guy. He's also an artist. He's a musician. And thank you, Rick, for being married to such a beautiful, beautiful gal. I also want to thank John Gadusco. He was a former intelligence officer aboard the USS Liberty. He was a lieutenant at the time. He got off the ship just before we left on our last cruise when we got attacked. Go to John's site. It's tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. Please go to that site. It's the best site on radio. If you go to Jim Ennis's site, I'll just turn it off and go to this one because this is the one you want to go to. Also, I still hope we got Ron Kuko with his hero aboard the USS Liberty, who is in charge of body recovery and identification, something that he'll never forget, or I won't either. I know the circumstances, and I was there, not at that particular moment, but I was there. Now, I want to get to the professor. I want to read a little bit of his bio, and this is just a little bit, folks, but I want to get you, kind of informed on this great man. Richard Anderson Falk, born 1930, is an American professor emeritus of international law at Princeton University, the author or co-author of 20 books and the editor and co-editor of another 20 books, speaker, activist in world affairs, and an appointee to two United Nations positions on the Palestinian territories. In 208, the United Nations Human Rights Council appointed Mr. Falk to a 6-year term as United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories, occupied since 1967. 67 sure rings a bell. Some of his official reports, as well as other writings, have been criticized by Israel officials and some diplomats. Falk has published a number of books and essays analyzing the legality of the Vietnam War. Thank you, sir. I go along with that one for sure. And the other military operations. With regard to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, he wrote that it is unacceptable that an objective observer would reach the conclusion that this Iraq war is a war of aggression, and as such that it amounts to a crime against peace of the sort of which surviving German leaders were indicted, persecuted, and punished at the Nuremberg trials conducted shortly after Second World War. Now, Nuremberg trials brings something back to me. Of course, I wasn't alive when they took place, but sir, in my opinion, there's no statute of limitations on murder. The Israelis are still going after the survivors that were in the German army, no matter what their positions were, cooks or whatever. So, do you believe that the Nuremberg trials are or should be held up as trials against human nature, crimes against the USS Liberty, war crimes, when we weren't even in a war? What do you think about that, sir? Wow, are we still there? Do we have Professor Falk on? Can you give him a call back? Okay, here we go, folks. Okay, thank you. Listen, folks, Professor Falk, for some reason, dropped off. I don't know what the problem is there. It could have been a technical. Okay, yeah, okay. If you can please get the professor on, I'd appreciate it. And Ron, for some reason, Professor Falk dropped off, but that does happen on live radio. Did you hear the bio on the professor?
Most of it. I was dropped out myself for a little bit, and I did hear part of it. Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are, and I'd like to get this across before he comes back on. I'm not even going to go into. I agree with what he said about the Vietnam War and about Iraq. What I'd like to get across before he comes back on is that for those people, and it sounds like I'm changing the subject here. I don't mean to, but I've got to get this out. For those people who feel that those that survived this attack are holding a whole nation responsible for what a few have done, you're dead wrong. Don't ever think for a moment that I'm advocating the destruction of the country for what a few people have done to American military and American sailors and Marines. I've never advocated that.
Shipmate, don't leave me. We got the professor back. I apologize, Professor. We got something went on there, but it happens on live radio. And it is my honor to welcome you aboard. Your voice counts. I read your bio. It's outstanding. At the end of it, it talked about the Nuremberg trials and how the trials went. And they went to get the people that murdered the Jews. And do you think that stands today with the murder of Americans on the high seas by the state of Israel?
Yes, I think there's no question that that's an unprosecuted, very severe war crime. And as you know, war crimes have no statute of limitations, and so it is as much a crime today as when it was committed. And it's a failure of global justice that we only look at the crimes of defeated countries and third world countries and haven't the moral integrity to examine our own behavior when it violates international criminal law to such a serious degree as was involved with the Liberty incident. It's such a shadow cast across the whole history of American honor in peace and war that it will never be fully restored until this issue is faced with some degree of integrity.
You know, Professor, your words are so true and so heartfelt. They really sparked me up for the reason that you understand the situation in many parts of the world and how people suffer in the needless wars, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, USS Liberty. And the real problem, I think, and my guest host on today is Ron Kukul. He's a former communications technician, a spy that was aboard the Liberty, and has done as more work and as much work as anybody has to get the truth out. But the thing about the USS Liberty is that they knew we were under attack by a foreign government, and they would not send aircraft to our aid, and we did not know who that aircraft was. We were, totally in the dark because there were no markings on the planes. LBJ called back the aircraft and says, "I will not embarrass my ally Israel, and I don't care, GD, if every sailor and Marine dies on that ship and sinks." So, what are your thoughts or conclusions about a president of the United States doing that or saying that about a crew that is in international waters, doing what he ordered this to do?
I think it's a shocking statement if it can be clearly demonstrated that that's what he really said and believed. It's to me a clearly treasonous expression of disregard of his constitutional duty to protect American citizens, and especially those that are fighting on behalf of the country, supposedly, to sacrifice them in order to avoid embarrassing an ally seems so perverted in its reasoning that it's hard to imagine that an elected American president would ever be willing to say that, much less that he would endorse such views. It's hard to imagine. The whole relationship, of course, with Israel has been characterized by a failure to deal acceptably from a perspective of law and morality. So this, in a sense, is just the most severe example of that, but it's part of a wider pattern, I'm afraid, that goes on to this day.
And I think the wider pattern you're talking about, sir, is the Zionist control that Israel has over our elected officials in Washington, D.C. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, I think it's not only that. I think there's no question that the Israeli lobby and the organized forces of Zionism distort our foreign policy and dominate our congressional assessment of that policy. But I think there are other elements that play into that, including the approaches taken toward foreign policy by so-called Christian Zionism in this country, and also some elements in the Pentagon that believe that Israel is an important, especially since 1967, has become an important strategic ally in the region. So there's more to the story than the Israeli lobby, but the Israeli lobby puts a rigid constraint on what an elected government seems willing to do.
Well, you know, sir, we know that the President of the United States, President Obama, will be going to Israel this week. I wonder if he's going to get 29 standing ovations at the Knesset.
Well, he's not speaking at the Knesset, so he certainly won't get any ovations there. And it's a little bit disappointing that President Obama would go to give this kind of deference to the Netanyahu government after the Israeli Prime Minister made it clear that he was favoring Romney in the last presidential election. I would have thought that gave Obama the political space to pursue a more independent American foreign policy in the region, which would be good for this country's pursuit of its own national interest and good for the region. It needs a much more balanced approach on the part of the U.S.
Absolutely, sir, and thank you for correcting me on the Knesset deal, because I was told, and I found out now that he will not address the Knesset. Thank you for that information. But I do know he will meet with President Abbas, and let's be very, very hopeful that those talks can turn into some kind of resolution, some kind of peace in the Middle East.
I think that's too optimistic, I'm afraid. I wish I could agree with you about that, but I think the situation has gone so far in a direction that makes anything one could call a just peace pretty much an impossibility at the moment. Israel is building these unlawful settlements at an accelerated rate in occupied Palestine. There's no territory left to create a viable Palestinian state at this time. Some people have tried to explain the situation as being one where it's too late for a two-state solution and too early for a one-state solution. And what that means is that there is no realistic hope that any kind of breakthrough for peace is forthcoming. And the Obama people have made it clear that this is what they call a listening visit, that he is not seeking anything very dramatic, but only to understand better what the two sides are proposing at this point.
Absolutely, Professor. And one of the reasons I asked you that question is to get your intellect and your insight of what is and what has been taking place. And you said it all, and I think that the property, the land that they have taken, stolen in 1967, will forever be Israel's, and the people in the concentration camps are just waiting for them to die off or leave. But I certainly don't know how to put myself in their place in the horrors that they have.
Yes, I mean, it's been one of the worst ordeals that a people have experienced, certainly in the period since the end of World War II, that a occupation and exile and refugee status has completely engulfed the Palestinian reality, where children are born in refugee camps, they grow up in them, and they die in them. And it's a horrible human fate to have no opportunity to live a normal life, and to think that the American taxpayer is subsidizing this kind of oppressive structure is, to me, quite shocking that we haven't awakened to the minimal morality of respecting the rights of the Palestinian people. We lecture the world about human rights, and yet we're guilty of complicity in one of the worst structures of oppression that exists at the present time.
Absolutely, sir. I agree with you 100%. Well, for instance, look at Haiti. Look at people we could be helping that need it more than anything. Look at the people in the Northeast that the money we give Israel could be rebuilding and helping these people that are in dire straits. And I would say no more aid for Israel. Israel's one of the richest countries in the world, one of the most powerful countries in the world. They don't need American money. At least I don't think they do.
No, they certainly don't need it, and they'd be better off without it anyway. They'd begin to think more realistically about how to get along with their neighbors and how to deal in a fair and just way with the Palestinian people. As long as they're kept in this kind of permanent situation of receiving subsidies for their wars and for their oppressive structures, they have no incentive to change. And in that sense, if we want change in the region, it has to start in Washington.
Start in Washington. I remember back when the peace accords with Arafat and Clinton, and everybody shaking hands and all smiles, but it meant absolutely zero. It meant nothing. And
unfortunately, yes, it created expectations that there was a real political will to find a fair outcome to the conflict. But as soon as Israel began building settlements in the occupied territory, it became increasing.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
There are many water filters to choose from, but there is only one system that is consistently customer rated 5 stars as the #1 system for effective filtration of fluoride, radiation, drug residues, heavy metals, a wide range of radioisotopes, and more. Introducing the Pure Effect Ultra, the next generation water filter that also raises alkaline pH, improves antioxidant potential, and has advanced anti-radiation technology, all while using no electricity. Sold worldwide, it provides virtually instant clean water on demand. It is not made in China, and the shipping is free to all 50 states. Buy your Pure Effect Ultra today by visiting PureEffectFilters.com. or call 888-891-4821. Again, that's 888-891-4821. Or visit PureEffectFilters.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
They said that Israeli forces.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts. I certainly appreciate you hanging in there. And I wanted to get Ron Kukul in here to start off this part of the show. And Ron, please go ahead and ask the professor anything you'd like.
Phil, can you hear me all right here? I keep getting cut off here.
I can hear you. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. You know, I made a statement, Professor, just before the show started. I don't know if you heard it or not. As you know, over the last 45 years, we have went at it tooth and nail with these people trying to get the truth out. And being called certain names over the years, it reflects a lot on us when they're uncalled for, as far as I'm concerned. And I just wanted to say something that I would like you to comment on. I try to preface everything I say in every program I'm on anymore by saying this. I do not blame a whole country for what a few have done. Would you comment on that? I do not blame the whole country of Israel for what a few people have done over the years. And
I think it's an important insight that the direction of this policy should not be attributed to the whole country and to the people. On the other hand, I think it's more than a few. I think a lot of powerful people have been allowed themselves to be controlled by the organized Zionist and Israeli lobbies and by other special interest groups that favor these kinds of policies. And in that sense, I think one can say few are guilty, but many are responsible. We do know enough and have enough access to the underpinnings of this policy, to the taxpayer subsidization of Israel, which, as our host has pointed out, is a prosperous country and doesn't need this subsidy. We have allowed Israel to really shape American policy in very undesirable ways. For instance, we risk a new war with Iran because we don't want to embarrass again Israel by proposing a nuclear-free zone for the entire Middle East, which is obviously the most efficient, fair, and stabilizing manner of addressing the threat of nuclear weapons in the region. But we're not even willing to discuss the question because we don't want to draw into controversy Israel's nuclear weapons monopoly, which it uses to exert pressure throughout the region. And it's an undesirable, in my view, undesirable situation that Israel or any country should have that kind of capacity to use nuclear weapons as a threat that intimidates and possibly annihilates a country. So that we are in a situation where we need to reassert our own sovereign interests as a country. And all of us as citizens, I believe, have an obligation to help achieve that reassertion of sovereign authority. And that does require us to say that there are a few that have been executing this policy, but there are many more that are aware of it, that support it, or should be engaged in opposing it and haven't done so for many, many years.
I guess I could reword that a little bit, and I certainly understand what you're saying there. I've actually written to my congressmen, my senators, a lot of times over the years, and usually I get a pretty much of a canned answer. We can't listen to what you people have to say, even though it is the truth, and that Israel is a democratic nation, and we can't just walk in and take over and put this subject in the forefront. And that's literally what I've been told over the years. I want to tell you, I dare say this now, I guess, that Phil had two shows to do today, and I actually interrupted my time in church, and that doesn't make me a perfect person by a long shot, just to help him out and to make that very statement that I don't blame a whole country for what a few have done. And you did clarify that. It is more than a few, but it's the people that support that really ought to take a look at what they're saying here and what they're doing. That's pretty much how I feel about it anyway.
I think we've come to a point where we can't allow people to hide behind a veil of ignorance. There's enough that's known, and we should expose the past to more transparency, including the Liberty incident, which is, as I've said earlier, such a dramatic example of how distorted our political leadership has been in relation to this whole set of issues, not just the incident, but it dramatizes the extreme to which the government will go in subordinating its own citizens to the foreign policy of another country.
Sir, let me ask you this. Well, let's go back to Nuremberg. And it's very, very important for the fact when you stated that, when you're guilty, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I was told there was a 20-year statute of limitations on murder, and that Israel is exonerated itself of anything that they do. And why is it that whenever Israel says jump, the rest of the world jumps? It is just amazing to me that they've done this. Now, I'm not talking about Russia or China or Syria or Iran, of course, but I'm talking about France. I'm talking about the United States. I'm talking about Germany, which built them 3 subs, the state-of-the-art subs, and they got 2 or 3 more on the way. So what are these people jumping for? I mean, why? And why do they make Germany feel so bad?
Well, see, I think there are 2 sets of issues that are sometimes not clearly understood. In the American case, I think what you earlier talked about is the primary explanation, how well pro-Israeli groups are organized and exert effective leverage over our Congress and over our political process. The situation in Europe is different. I think there the impact of the Holocaust and the memory of the fact that European democracies did very little to protect the Jews from genocide makes them feel that they will immediately be accused of anti-Semitism unless they endorse Israel more or less unconditionally. So that they are very much under the weight of this historical experience that they have been convinced and to some extent deserve to be convinced that they were partly complicit in. They weren't perpetrators, except in the German case. And Germany is, of course, acutely sensitive to the fact that if anything it does is taken as a criticism of Israel, it will immediately be described as a return to anti-Semitism, and they don't want that. They regard that part of their past with great collective shame, and so they don't want to be reminded of that in any way, and so they lean over in the other direction. So to a lesser extent, this is true of the other countries in Europe which failed to accept Jewish refugees from Germany, sometimes cooperated with Nazis by turning Jews over to the concentration camps and the death camps. So there's a very important difference between the American relationship to these issues and the European relationship to these issues.
Professor, that is one of probably the most profound and interesting statements I've heard in a long time. And it makes perfect sense. And may I also add, the animosity, or let me start a new train of thought here. The guilt of World War II on the world, to me, it seems like Israel uses this guilt on the world to do and get by with what they want to. And on the other hand, the Japanese do not hold that power. Of course, we nuked 2 of their islands, but they it seems like it's a completely opposite of what 2 countries are. We war with Germany, we war with Japan, and then Israel. It seems like uses the concentration camps, and I'm not saying they're right, they're wrong. My uncle was in a concentration camp for almost 2 years. He went in 200 pounds and come out 85. So he's told me about the things that went on, but he told me he was treated good by the Germans. So that was his.
He was a prisoner of war. Is that right?
He was a prisoner of war. He was a paratrooper.
Yeah, well, that's really different than the death camps and concentration camps. I mean, the Germans did behave differently toward prisoners of war than they did toward the people they were persecuting.
I understand. Do you think my idea or my thoughts about Israel kind of just using people, using the world because of the war and the concentration camps, is that a viable thought to you?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, there's a son of Holocaust survivors who's written a book called The Holocaust Industry, which really makes that argument in a very strong way that Israel has made it much more difficult for people to criticize their policies because they manipulate this memory of the Holocaust as a way of intimidating and avoiding criticism. And there's no question that, especially in Europe, that operates very powerfully. It doesn't operate so much in the rest of the world. I mean, in Asia or Latin America or Africa, but in Europe and North America, it definitely is a important factor. And actually, in Israel itself, it's less effective than anywhere else, ironically, because there's more criticism, there's more open dialogue in Israel about the relationship to the Palestinian struggle and other issues than there is in this country. We have less available freedom on this issue than, surprisingly, Israel itself has.
Absolutely. And another question, sir. The concentration camps that the United States basically is supporting and paying for, is that a viable, good reason for much of the world to hate the United States for their undying, loving, massaging support of the State of Israel and their support for Benjamin Netanyahu, which I think is in my view, a person on the edge of destroying humanity?
Well, I think you're right that a lot of the resentment against the United States is connected with its policies toward the Israel-Palestine conflict and its seeming unconditional support of Israel, because for most of the world outside of Europe and North America, Israel is seen as the last outpost of European colonialism. It's not seen as a fully legitimate sovereign state. A lot of countries, including the Arab countries, are prepared to live with Israel because it's an established fact. As you say, it's a strong military power. But the denial of rights to the Palestinians remains the most serious unresolved issue from the colonial era, and it's looked upon as the victimization of the Palestinians as a result of this U.S.-Israel capacity to ignore their claims by the use of overwhelming military force.
The force that Israel has, they estimate between 250, 300 nukes. In my view, nobody's said how many they have, but if they say they've got 200, or they don't say, but the experts say 200 to 300, they could possibly have 1,000. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I have no knowledge beyond what you said. I mean, the general public understanding is a nuclear weapons arsenal of around 300, and they continue to develop these weapons and to have the capability of destroying any country within a couple thousand miles. They have the delivery systems as well as the weapons. And I think they have the mentality which would allow them to use these weapons if they felt that their security required it. And that's why I said earlier that I think it's a terrible failure of American leadership not to propose a nuclear weapons-free zone, which would not only challenge the Israeli nuclear weapons arsenal, but also...
Time to relax and unwind. What better way to do so than with Santa Barbara bells? For over 25 years, our wind chimes have been helping people to relax and enjoy life. Turn your home environment into a pleasurable experience. From the small overture chime to the large super bass, you will find just the right chime to enjoy. All wood, strings, and cordage are protected for long life, and all parts are rust-proof. You have 10 sizes to choose from. To see and hear more of the chimes, go to santabarbarabells.com or call us at 805-733-1513. Santa Barbara Bells is currently having a springtime sale. Come to the website and save up to 50% on all of our chimes. santabarbarabells.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
The time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time ago. In 1967, on the 8th day of June, came the attack of the Liberty and the needless loss of many of the crew, and the Liberty fell like a wounded and dying man.
Go.
The men in the light
here we go.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back, Professor. I didn't know the break was coming on. I apologize very much, sir. Things just haven't been working quite right today. There's still a lot of background noise. I apologize for that, but I got to ask you one thing, sir. Now I'm letting Ron close the show out, if he would. Would Israel ever attack America if they felt it was in their interest? No doubt.
Well, I think that's America's so big, and I think that's hard to envision. They would certainly try to undermine our policies if they felt that they were running counter to what was in their interest as they saw it. And they could do things covertly and secretly, but an outright attack, I think, is fairly far-fetched. What I do think is important, though, is to recognize that Israel has consistently done what it thinks is best for it, and has been very unwilling to compromise its policies for the sake of its relationship with the United States. And what is so upsetting, I think should be so upsetting to the rest of us, is that the United States government has allowed that to happen without protecting our people and our interests. And for this reason, what happened on June 8th, 1967 to the Liberty is still such a challenge to our national sense of self-respect and viewing our obligations to our own citizenry as something that is second to nothing in terms of the obligation of our leadership. So that I really believe that your dedication to having the truth widely known about this issue is essential to recovering our own sense of national self-respect.
Well, I'll tell you, Professor, you're something else. I got to tell you that, and I know you're one of the most educated men in America, and here I am talking to you, and along with my shipmate. I want to get you back on the show again. If you'd please come back on, I'd appreciate it. And, it would mean the world to us, and it mean the world to the USS Liberty survivors, and it mean the world to people that listen to this radio broadcast. And so I'm going to sign off. Ron, you still here?
Well, thank you for having me, and keep up the good work. It's very important for all of us.
Okay, could we get you back on air sometime?
Sure.
Okay, great. And we just have a little bit of time left. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with, and some of your wisdom and just your life's experience?